He's right behind. All righty, here we are. Good morning, Moira.
Good
How are you
morning.
today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for
Good.
joining me, and I really appreciate it. I thought our show and your words of wisdom last week were phenomenal. So thank you again for your time.
Of course.
And today, so a lot of parents watch this show on the replay. And if you're catching it later on, what we're going to cover today are two really fun, important topics. And the first one is to offer up some book recommendations for spring as we head into summer, both fiction, nonfiction, from Moira's point of view and my point of view. And then we're going to describe, just quickly, we're going to describe our summer writing enrichment work, because I know a lot of parents out there are, wishing their kids were better writers, wondering how to get them there, wondering, to what extent should they push their kids to do some schoolwork, but give them a break in the summer. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And a real quick recap about last week, because I thought that was so powerful, Moira, as far as that thesis statement writing. And
Mhm.
am I correct in remembering one of your main points, and feel free to chime in here, and then we'll launch into our books, was when students receive an English class, a social studies class, like an essay assignment, before jumping into, searching for textual evidence or thinking of the best intro, for them to really, essentially what you were saying, is for them to really take the time to unpack the directions and the questions. And
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And did you want to add just a little something and how that helps students formulate ultimately a great
Right.
thesis?
Right. Well, I think the biggest problem that I see, the most common mistake, is answering the wrong question. So, getting
Yes.
ahead of yourself, understanding what the prompt is asking you, and exactly what you need to write about cuts out so much wasted time when we have to go
Right,
back and rewrite a thesis and
right.
reorganize a paper that isn't getting at the heart of the question.
Right, right. And to me, from like a parent point of view, a teacher point of view, a professional point of view, really so much of success with essay writing is is planning for that time at the beginning, that pre-writing,
Absolutely.
whether it's these lit analysis essay questions, or even thinking of soon, right around the corner, college admissions essay questions, planning for that pre-writing time. And then what I'd love to do a session on later on is planning on editing, planning on revising, planning on another pair of eyes, like
Mhm.
you, or
Mhm.
a parent or a trusted older sibling, to
Right.
give a ton of constructive criticism, because a lot of students aren't leaving time for that. And to me, both of those on the front end and the back end are game changers for students to boost their
Yes.
grades. So leaving time on the front.
Right.
Thank you again. Last week was fabulous thesis statement writing. Parents, if you're hopping on now and you missed that last week, make sure you see that. I've had some really positive feedback, Moira, about your teaching about how to really tackle and approach a thesis statement for students so that the rest of the paper flows smoothly, the time spent on the paper is cut in half, and the kids ultimately do better than they ever have before. So today,
Right.
let's get right into our first of two main topics. So our first topic is something you and I both just love to do, and it's our book review. So parents out there, we're offering fiction, nonfiction books for you today for spring break as you head into summer. And Moira, did you want to start us off with
Sure.
one or two, whatever you have for our audience?
Yes. So, I recently read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Have you read that yet?
Not tell me about it.
So, it was at the top of so many lists last
I
year,
feel like I've seen it.
and yeah, I'm a big Kindle reader, but my
Okay.
roommate bought a hard copy of this book, read it in maybe a day, and was like, "You have to read this." So,
Oh, wow.
I started it and I was done. I mean, I was on the treadmill reading it. I was on my lunch break from work reading it, in between tutoring sessions reading. It's about these two students. It's interesting. It doesn't sound that cool, but they're video game developers, and it kind of tracks their lives over decades from when they're kids and they meet, they go to college, then they become business partners, and their
Right.
lives just unfold. I mean, it made me laugh, it made me cry, but every
Okay.
book makes me cry. So, but I thought the writing was stunning. It was
Mhm.
such an easily digestible narrative.
Okay.
Um,
Tomorrow is 3 tomorrows, right? Tomorrow and
it's
tomorrow and
three
tomorrow.
tomorrows.
That's awesome.
Um,
And who do you
it was a
recommend it? I mean, do you like, would I like it? Like, would your mom like it?
Yeah,
Would
I think it's
your students
definitely
parents like it?
geared
Okay.
more towards adults. I think my sisters would
Okay.
enjoy it. We have a
Yeah.
list of friends waiting for it. It's getting passed around
Oh,
our friend group.
fun. Fun. Okay, so
So,
you connected to it. It was a page turner. That is totally awesome. That
yeah,
is good.
yeah,
Okay. Okay, I have that
yes.
down. I don't know if you can see the comments, but I put, can you see the comments from where you are? I
I
put,
can't see
yeah,
them
maybe one if
unless
you
I'm
like pull and you don't have to do it now, but that tomorrow
yeah,
and tomorrow on Facebook. So okay, so I'm going to start off with my first one that I just loved, and it is Marilia of Green Gables. And one of the reasons I love this is my daughter Sarah and I, during the first year of COVID, when she was 10, she loved watching the new Anne with an E, which is,
yes.
Anne of Green Gables. And I know a lot of parents out there grew up loving those. Maybe not so much your age, maybe. I mean, I'm sure I know you know who Anne, that fictitious character, but this is lovely. And I actually met the author during the Verse in Vino in Charlotte that I attended. And one of the reasons I like this book is it takes your mind to a beautiful, beautiful scenery of Nova Scotia and the green and the flowers that come through and the cold of Canada. And I thought the setting and the characters were really well developed. Was it a total page turner? No. Did I thoroughly, pleasantly enjoy it? Yes. So I thought it's perfect for spring heading into summer, especially parents are out there if you had any kind of connection to Anne of Green Gables. So that is my first recommendation. I'll put that in there. So, okay, go on with your next one. Yes.
I also recently read, and this is a classic, which I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but
Okay.
I read A Tree Grows in Brooklyn a few months ago,
Oh, yeah.
which I adored that book. I really like books just about people that don't really
Yes.
have, a climax or anything. And
Okay.
um, I just thought it was beautiful prose and just such an engaging story. I
Wonderful.
also love New York, and I loved reading
Yes.
about New York so long ago, and just felt connected to a female character.
A Tree Grows
So I
in
thought that was,
Brooklyn.
yes, I thought that was
And who do you
a
recommend
great
that
book.
for?
That's another more adult, or I would say college, older high school.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
but I think it's also a good example of more narrative writing,
Okay.
which I know it's a good,
Yeah.
I've seen in my own experience and in my students that reading books like that is just great for the college essay development.
Right. That's so interesting that you say that. There's one student, and it's actually a student who you tutor, who I just know, imagine that, like, know their
Yeah.
family, and I thought of this one tip for writing back in the fall, and I said, "I need to share this with you," and ultimately, the tip is, what Moira's teaching you, look for in books,
Yeah.
and especially, like what you just said, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, a book that clearly the author's utilizing narrative writing skills. And the students are not just hearing from you, not just responding to finish this
Mhm.
English paper, but they're like studying the descript. I mean, this is
Yes.
this is where it's at. These are beautiful, lovely, published New York Times bestseller, Pulitzer Prize winning authors and other book awards. Study how they're doing it. And that is
Right.
just what you said. Like, as we round the corner for narrative essay writing, I mean, you just can't deny the fact that
Mhm.
students who read all of the time, and I know it's hard. I know, I get that, parents. I have 4 of them, 4 teenagers. "Mom, I've gotta do chemistry. Mom, I have soccer practice." But clearly the students who do push themselves to read even light, lovely, light, luscious, easy, simple, fun reading,
Yes,
I think in great, yeah,
yes.
yeah, okay.
And I tell my students, and I always preface it with, "I know this is annoying advice. I know you don't wanna hear this,
So
but
funny.
when they ask me what is the best thing that I can do, I have to tell them it's reading."
Yes,
Because it really, I spend all day writing. That's my job. I write for
yes,
up to 8 hours a day.
gosh,
And I still take the time to read after work and before work.
yes,
It's just truly the best way
yes.
and the easiest way, I
Well,
think, to boost your
I think
writing
the
skills.
easiest way, yes, but you have the gift of loving to read, which you've had from a long time. I mean, that's a whole 'nother. I have a good friend who, she's a math teacher. She was, mathy, type brain, really excelled in chemistry and physics, and really forced herself to be in a book club later on in life. And she says,
Mhm.
if it wasn't for this book club, I just wouldn't read all that. I just didn't do that. So even, in her 40s became probably earlier in her 30s became a prolific reader because she just knew she didn't have that in her habits of relaxation of fun things to do
Right.
when she was younger. So I think that's a great segment to do. Like, what if you're not a reader? How to help your child or you become one. So
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
Okay, so my second
And
book
yeah.
is, and I'm on 2, right? I'm, like, trying to write these comments too. I have Moira's second book, and my second book, like, this so far is so good. So, The Kingdoms of Savannah, and I love the voice of this author, George Dawes Green, so far. This book was given to me as a gift for my book club. We do a cute thing at the end of the year, the holidays. We wrap up a hardcover book we've never read or we've always wanted to read, and then someone picks a number. And I was a little skeptical because the cover's really dark. I used to be into mysteries, but
Mhm.
the way things have become so violent on TV and with books, I have strayed away from that, Moira,
Mhm.
since the days of Nancy Drew in the 70s growing up. And this so far is a good one. I highly recommend it. It's exciting, and I love
Ooh.
the characters are so funny so far, and it gives a really neat, description of a lot of, like, inside info into some parts of Savannah, which being, from Chicago to
Ooh.
Charlotte, I really don't have that much knowledge of. So I
Mhm.
highly recommend The Kingdoms of Savannah. And then I have one more, and if you don't, that's fine, because I know we wanted to move on to our second topic. But
Yeah, I can
do
give
you,
a quick my
yeah.
always go-to high school book recommendation,
Oh yeah.
especially for students who don't like to read, because this is an easier read. I
Okay.
think I
Oh,
read
I
this in
know.
middle school,
Yes.
but I love the book Stargirl. I will
Yes.
stand by that book
Love
recommendation
that.
for ever and ever. It is quick to read. It's easy to read. So even if you
Easy.
have someone, a teenager who doesn't think they like to read, I mean, this is 10 pages
Okay,
a day for
Stargirl,
a
you've said
week.
that so many times. Yeah, you love
I
it. So
know. I
really, I
love
mean,
it.
what I'm hearing from you about your books, I mean, there's this is a wonderful variety, and Stargirl's always, ever since I've met you, always on your list,
Yeah.
and it's almost like, I mean, would you say, like, for parents watching this, what if they have, teenage, like, what, like age 15, 16 on up? Would you still say, yes, this is so engaging, this is quick, this is
I would
easy?
still say it's engaging,
Okay.
especially for the teenager who doesn't want to read. It's so quick, and
Oh,
um,
that's
I
good. Yeah.
think starting with quick and easier to read books,
Yes.
whenever I've been in periods of my life where I've fallen out of my reading habits,
Yes.
there's almost an accomplishment that comes with finishing a book. So I always start with something quick and easy. And, you know, either I make a list of the books that I'm reading on my
Yeah.
phone and I love to see, I'm very accomplishment driven and
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
scoring a goal. It's like winning a soccer game or, finishing a workout for swim practice.
Okay.
It's
It's not
checking
this
something off your
long,
list.
lengthy, you've gotta read it 3 times to understand it. Okay,
Mhm.
fabulous. Well, thank you. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna throw my final one out there that is nonfiction, and I highly, highly recommend this, especially if you are the type of person who is goal-oriented, who wants results, who's willing to work hard, but there's a but. There's some kind of block. And it starts in between your ears, and it's fear and it's resistance. And so I love this book. It's called The War of Art, and I think it's particularly amazing and helpful for those of us who are very creative, yet we're driven and goal oriented, because unlike perhaps a discipline that has a specific outcome like math or accounting, a lot of writing, a lot of reading can be up for interpretation. A lot of goals in life can seem daunting once you really get out there in the world, right? It's a whole different ballgame, as you are probably finding out, than working your tail off and talking to a professor to get the A. So this is The War of Art. Break through your blocks and win your inner creative battles. It's totally quick and easy to read. I mean, wait, let me see. I mean, but it's pretty powerful, I think. So I'm gonna put this one in there. I highly recommend it, and I think it will speak to a lot of parents out there, and I think it might even speak to a lot of teens, especially a lot of teens who are starting to navigate how to how to win a relationship with a teacher who's really cranky and mean, right? And that's
Mm.
scary for a teenager.
It's
Um,
hard.
how to push through your blocks to go in and ask for more help, even if you've already asked help. How to tell your parents you really think you need a tutor in math or science or writing, right? How to go talk to that coach. And so
Mhm.
the biggest enemy, this book says, is in between our ears, in our brain, and it's fear, right? And how to step into that fear if you know you're not going to get hurt, how to step into that fear so that you can move forward in your life, right? You can send out that email to that big, head executive or that teacher again or your friend, right? And really grow. And I love stuff like that. So I'll put my final the final title in, and then I think now is a great time to switch gears and thinking of reading and thinking of wrapping up the semester, thinking of students wanting to take a break, yet knowing the next school year is, of course, looming in front of them. And let's start off talking about our summer writing enrichment tutoring. And from
Right.
your point of view, Moira, in work that you've done, and I know there's going to be a lot of correlation with during the school year tutoring, but what are some of the benefits you see, especially for rising, and rising means like soon to be. So if I have an eighth grader now, she's a rising freshman. For rising freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, what are some of the benefits of doing, a few weeks, 6 weeks with some, like doing some writing enrichment, critical thinking work in the summer? Because that can be
Mhm.
hard for some kids and even parents. But you've done this for a while, and I know you've seen the benefits from some of your students. So in your point of view, how can kids really win by continuing to work at a balanced pace in the summer?
Absolutely. So between freshman, sophomore, and junior year, the kind of writing that you are expected to do changes drastically, right? So between eighth grade and ninth grade, you're switching gears into high school writing. And between ninth grade and 10th grade, you have different objectives. And 10th grade and 11th grade, you really make the full shift into analytical writing instead of just, you know, did you comprehend the text? Um,
Right.
and so when I work with students in the summer, the majority of our time is spent on the basics, the foundation of how to do that kind of writing. And we work towards the objectives for their grade. And what I found is that for students who I work with in the summer, we cut out weeks of lessons, weeks of time that are
Mm.
spent understanding those basics and that foundation
Yep.
once the school year starts. So for my students
That's
who over the
awesome. That's
summer,
totally awesome. Mhm.
we're walking through lessons, for my rising ninth graders about how to annotate and how to write a thesis statement, or for my rising sophomores on how to use textual evidence,
Yep.
for my rising
Yep.
juniors who might be taking AP,
Yep.
introducing the AP exam.
Yep.
When the school year starts, they are 10 steps ahead,
10 steps
and
ahead.
when they get that first essay assignment, there is
Mhm.
not the same confusion of, okay, what do I do now? And there
So
isn't
clarity, reduced confusion,
exactly.
reduced time spent on you're like, a thesis statement is not an argumentative thesis statement paper is not a book report. And
Mm-mm.
if you've never heard that before, Moira, they're like,
Yes,
"What are
yeah.
you talking about?" But, hello, this paper that's worth 50 points is due in 3 days. And you're like, "Oh, if you just worked with
And
this over the summer."
especially
Mm.
for summer reading, and a story that I tell all my students, I might have even
Mm.
told it on here before, but when I was a junior in high school, I um, wrote a summer reading essay, thought it was amazing, beautiful, perfect essay, and I got it back, and I think I got like a C minus on it. And that was the first time that had
Mhm.
ever happened to me.
Yep, love
I
it.
mean, I was sent into a tailspin. But I wrote a book report instead of an analysis, and I had no idea. I had no idea that
Well
those were
well, very
different.
valid, yeah, yeah.
And um, so I love to tell my students that story because that's what we are here for, to eliminate that step, right? So then I had to go back and rewrite that essay, and then you can only rewrite up to a certain grade,
Right.
whatever nonsense. I don't even know how I remember all that. But you cut out those extra steps and
Yeah,
your grades are higher, you're more
yeah,
confident. That's another big thing
absolutely.
too, is feeling confident in class.
Yes,
And that's a lot of feedback that we get from parents and students, is that summer enrichment just boosts your
totally.
confidence. I mean, high school is
Absolutely,
scary. Ninth grade is
absolutely.
scary,
I had a
especially.
student.
So,
Yes, thank you. No, this is fabulous. I mean, this is totally fabulous. And then parents will say to me, and we're getting a lot of, new inquiries, like, "What do you mean by writing enrichment?" And I get that, right? It's difficult. And
right.
I think the most important thing right now is we value the one-on-one individual. It's almost like a boutique. We like to tailor the students' lessons based on where they are. We carve out a
Mhm.
plan where you want to go. And then we talk about, are you going to use your summer writing book or books as the main curriculum? Are we going to use just that? We certainly have writing prompts. We have a curriculum, but the idea
Right.
is, parents, that your students are being challenged. They're learning and growing without the pressure of math, of science, of a fall sport. It's this focused, fun writing skill enrichment that, as Moira says, and that I've experienced as a classroom teacher. These students, then it's like September, and their friends are freaking out about, oh my gosh, I got this essay on, mythology, or, you know, Catcher in the Rye, and my teacher is saying, nope, this thesis statement won't work, or, nope, you're not analyzing your textual evidence. Well, Moira, we're giving that to them in the summer. It's like we're the front line in the summer.
Exactly.
Their writing skills explode, and they start
Mhm.
that year so confident and feeling so good that they're
Mhm.
going to excel in English class. So I have received many compliments from parents like, thank you, thank you. I had one student, I'll never forget this, at the former high school where I taught. It was October, and she was taking a high level English class, and she's like, Mom, I'm getting an A. No one else is getting it. And the mom said, well, we're really more of a math family. How's it happening? And she goes, it was total writing this summer. It was total, all this stuff is like review for
Mhm.
me right now. And English class is
Mhm.
so much fun because I'm up here focusing on like participating in class and chit chatting with my teacher, and other kids are like, oh my God, I have a B minus. I have no idea
Yeah.
what to do. So
And like you said,
very
in the summer, there I
Well, I
think
can't
we
hear you right
can you
now.
hear
Yeah. So I think that
it?
summer, no, I can't, that's okay. We're gonna wrap it up anyway. But I do think that the work that, I see your volume's off a little bit. Yeah.
Is
Um,
that fixing?
do I try? No, I can't hear you. I don't, you know what, Moira, sometimes the AirPods that's why I
Yeah.
use that old fashioned, yeah. But at any rate, I wanted to go for like 20 minutes. Of course, we're at 25. You and I could talk about this all day. So we've really covered, thank you so much for your book reviews for parents and for teens. I was trying to type while you were giving your awesome review of your books. So please, parents out there, if there are any typos, we'll go back in and change them. And most importantly, think about writing enrichment this summer, the one-on-one work. Like you cannot put like a price tag on that for the positive feedback we're getting for rising freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. And I know next year, Moira, we're really going to expand your work with honing in on AP for students and the skills, because that's a whole different skill set than a new freshman or even a sophomore, depending on the level, depending on the school. I hate to say it, but it's very true. So if you have any questions out there, parents, about writing enrichment, right now we're starting to enroll students. So I know college essay, that's a whole different beast, and we're taking enrollment for that, but really focusing today on what can your students do this summer in a fun, relaxed way, where they're boosting their creativity, their critical thinking, and they know how to fluidly organize and communicate that in their writing, so that when they start in the fall, which is really August these days, right, when they feel confident and they know what they're doing, and they're on their way to getting an A in English class, we hope, right? We can never promise a grade. So Moira, thank you so much, and we'll do this again. I appreciate it. And if you have any comments, when we're done, any other books or any other thoughts, you can always comment too, so feel free. So thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.